Marcus Webb had mapped over 300 star systems in his career, but nothing prepared him for the breathtaking sight of Australis Prime. The Celestian Palace didn't rest on solid ground. It floated among the clouds of a gas giant. Crystalline spires refracting starlight into cascades of color that painted the swirling atmosphere below. Beautiful, isn't it? He turned from the observation deck to find a woman watching him with eyes. The color of nebula deep purple shot through with silver. Her skin held a faint opalescent shimmer, and her hair moved as though caught in a gentle cosmic wind, despite the still air. Stunning, Marcus agreed, then caught himself. I mean, yes, the palace is incredible. Her lips curved into an amused smile. I'm Princess Nyx. My father, Emperor Theron, mentioned you'd arrived. You're the cartographer here to map the Obsidian Veil sector. Marcus gave a slight bow, suddenly aware of how plain his standard expedition uniform looked compared to her flowing garments that seemed woven from starlight itself. Marcus Webb, Your Highness, I appreciate your people granting access to the sector. Those star fields have been uncharted for millennia. Yes, we've kept them deliberately unexplored for spiritual reasons. Nyx moved to stand beside him, gazing out at the stars. But times change. Father believes isolation breeds stagnation. Hence, I promise to be respectful of any sacred sites, or that's not why I'm here. She turned to face him fully, and Marcus felt his breath catch. There was an intensity in her gaze that had nothing to do with politics or protocol. I want to learn your methods. Human cartography is supposed to be remarkably different from ours, more ... intuitive. Over the following days, Marcus found himself spending hours with Nyx in his temporary laboratory. The princess proved to be a quick study, absorbing information about parallax measurements, spectroscopic analysis, and gravitational mapping with genuine enthusiasm. But how did ancient humans navigate before all this technology? She asked one evening, gesturing at his holographic displays. Marcus smiled, pulling up a different program. The lab dimmed as he projected Earth's night sky. They used stories. See those stars? He traced a pattern with his finger, and the projection highlighted the constellation. That's Orion, the hunter. And there, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters. Humans connected stars into pictures, created myths about them. Navigation was as much about storytelling as science. Nyx stepped closer to the projection, her face illuminated by the artificial starlight. We have constellation stories too, but we lost the practice of creating new ones centuries ago. It became too ... frivolous for a warrior empire. That's sad, Marcus said quietly. Stories are how we make the universe personal, how we find meaning in infinity. She looked at him, something vulnerable in her expression. Teach me. Show me how humans do it. They spent the next week creating new constellations together. Marcus shared Earth legends, while Nyx contributed Celestian mythology. Late one night, working in comfortable silence, Marcus noticed Nyx tracing a particular pattern of stars repeatedly. What are you drawing? He asked. Nothing. It's foolish. Try me. She hesitated, then highlighted 7 stars in a graceful arc. A story my caretaker told me as a child. The wanderer princess who refused an arranged marriage and fled into the stars, searching for something she couldn't name. She was never seen again. What do you think she was searching for? Marcus moved closer, very aware of the small distance between them. Freedom, maybe. Choice. Nyx's voice softened. The right to love whom she wished, rather than whom she must. The air between them felt charged. Marcus knew he should step back, maintain professional distance. Instead, he found himself asking, "Is that what you want?" Nyx met his eyes, and in that moment, Marcus saw past the princess to the woman beneath. "My betrothal to Prince Corvin of the Helix dynasty will be announced in 3 weeks. It's been arranged since I was young, an alliance to prevent war. Do you love him? I've met him twice. He's adequate." She laughed bitterly. "That's what my life amounts to, adequate arrangements and proper alliances. Never passion, never choice." Marcus reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he gently took her hand. Her skin was warm despite its shimmer, her pulse racing beneath his fingertips. "On Earth," he said quietly, "we have a saying. We're all made of stardust atoms, forged in dying stars, scattered across the cosmos, somehow finding each other again across impossible distances. If that's true, maybe some connections aren't about politics or duty. Maybe some are just meant to be. Marcus, I know it's crazy. I know I'm human and you're Celestian royalty, and I've only been here 2 weeks. But I can't map the stars with you every night and pretend I don't feel this." Nyx's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "You're asking me to want something impossible. I'm just asking if you feel it too." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she squeezed his hand. "Every constellation we've created together, I've been drawing us into them, hoping that somehow, if I could write us into the stars, it might make us real, make us possible." Marcus pulled her closer, his free hand cupping her face. "Nyx, ... She rose on her toes, closing the distance between them. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, a question and answer both. When they finally pulled apart, Nyx was trembling. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I know. If the assembly discovers, I know." She kissed him again. Deeper this time, her fingers tangling in his hair. When they broke apart, both breathless, Nyx rested her forehead against his. "I choose you," she said softly. "Even if it's impossible. Even if it costs me everything. I choose this." Outside the laboratory windows, the stars wheeled through the cosmos, indifferent to empires and politics and the hearts of those who dared to chart their own course through the darkness. The summons arrived 3 days after their first kiss. Marcus found it slipped under his laboratory door, a formal scroll sealed with the imperial crest. His hands shook slightly as he broke the seal. "The Royal Assembly requests the immediate presence of cartographer Marcus Webb to address matters of protocol and propriety." Nyx appeared in his doorway moments later, her face pale beneath its opalescent shimmer. "They know. One of the palace attendants must have seen us in the garden last night." Marcus remembered that stolen hour under Australis Prime's 3 moons. Nyx in his arms, as they'd traced constellations on each other's skin, whispering promises they both knew might be impossible to keep. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we face High Chancellor Vorix and the Assembly, together." She straightened her shoulders, and Marcus watched the princess mask slide into place, hiding the vulnerable woman he'd come to love. "They can't harm Yoya here under diplomatic protection, but they'll use every word against us." The assembly chamber made Marcus feel impossibly small. 12 Celestian officials sat in elevated seats arranged in a circle, their faces cold and impassive. High Chancellor Vorix occupied the highest throne, his silver hair pulled back severely, his eyes like chips of ice. Cartographer Webb. Vorix's voice echoed through the chamber. You were brought here to map stars, not to seduce our princess. I didn't seduce anyone, Marcus replied, keeping his voice steady. Nyx and I, Princess Nyx, Vorix corrected sharply. You will address her properly. Princess Nyx and I developed feelings for each other naturally. We've done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Another assembly member, a woman with geometric patterns tattooed across her face, leaned forward. You've compromised the princess's honor and endangered a critical alliance. Prince Corvin arrives in 2 weeks, expecting to formalize his betrothal. Your interference threatens peace between 2 empires. Nyx stepped forward, her voice ringing clear. My relationship with Marcus threatens nothing. I'll explain the situation. To Prince Corvin myself, you will do no such thing. Vorix descended from his seat, his robes sweeping the polished floor. Princess, you are not a common citizen free to follow your heart's whims. You are the heir to the Celestian throne. Your marriage serves the Empire's needs, not your own desires. I've served the Empire my entire life, Nyx countered, anger flashing in her nebula-colored eyes. Every lesson, every diplomatic function, every smile I've offered to delegates, I couldn't stand all of it for the Empire. Am I not entitled to one choice of my own? Not when that choice destabilizes centuries of careful diplomacy. Vorix turned his cold gaze on Marcus. Human, you will leave Australis Prime immediately. Your mapping contract is terminated. No, Nyx's voice cracked like thunder. Marcus stays. His work is vital. His work can be completed by any competent cartographer. His continued presence is what cannot be tolerated. Vorix's expression softened slightly, though his eyes remained hard. Princess, I understand this is difficult. You're young, impressionable. This human has shown you kindness, perhaps affection, and you've mistaken it for something deeper. But infatuation passes. Duty endures. You think I don't know my own heart? Nyx's voice shook with fury. I think you've forgotten your training. The welfare of billions rests on alliances like the one with the Helix dynasty. Would you truly sacrifice their safety for a brief romance with an alien? Marcus felt something break inside him. He couldn't let Nyx destroy her life, her people's future, for him. Your Highness, he said quietly, using her formal title deliberately. Perhaps the Chancellor is right. I should go. Nyx spun to face him, betrayal written across her features. Marcus, I'm one person. Your people number in the billions. The math isn't complicated. Each word felt like swallowing glass, but Marcus forced them out. I'll finish the star maps remotely and submit them to the Imperial Science Council. You'll marry Prince Corvin as planned. Everyone gets what they need. Except us, Nyx whispered. We had a few beautiful weeks. Some people never get that much. Marcus couldn't look at her, couldn't see the tears he knew were streaming down her face. I'll pack my things tonight. Finally, sense from the human. Vorix sounded almost approving. The transport leaves at dawn. I suggest you be on it. Wait. Nyx's voice was different now, not pleading, but commanding. The voice of someone who'd been born to rule. High Chancellor, you speak of duty and sacrifice. You invoke the Empire's needs, but you forget something crucial. And what is that, Your Highness? I am not just the princess. I am the heir. One day I will sit on my father's throne, and every person in this chamber will answer to me. Nyx's voice gained strength with each word. And when that day comes, I will remember who stood between me and happiness, who valued political convenience over genuine connection, who treated love as a weakness to be crushed rather than a strength to be celebrated. "Are you threatening this assembly?" another member demanded. "I'm making a promise." Nix moved to stand beside Marcus, taking his hand publicly, defiantly. "Marcus stays. We continue our relationship, and you will arrange a meeting with Prince Corvin, where I will explain, honestly and respectfully, that I cannot marry him. The Helix dynasty will consider this an insult. Then let them. We'll negotiate new terms, find different diplomatic channels, but I will not marry without love. Not for politics, not for peace, not for anything." Her fingers tightened around Marcus's. "My mother always told me that a ruler who sacrifices their own humanity in service to the Empire eventually has nothing left to give. I refuse to become that hollow." Vorix's expression was unreadable. "You would truly choose this human over your duty, over everything you've been raised to value?" "I choose both. I choose to believe that duty and happiness aren't mutually exclusive, that I can serve my people and love whom I wish." Nix turned to Marcus, her eyes bright with unshed tears and fierce determination. "Unless you truly want to leave." Marcus looked at her looked at her. At the woman who'd laughed while learning Earth constellations, who'd confessed her loneliness under 3 moons, who now stood before her empire's highest officials defending their right to love each other. "I'm not going anywhere," he said quietly. "Not unless you send me away. Never." She kissed him then, in front of the entire assembly. A declaration and a challenge both. Vorix rose from his seat, his face like carved stone. "Then you leave us no choice, Princess. If you persist in this relationship, we will have no option but to recommend to Emperor Theron that your status as heir be reconsidered." The chamber fell silent. Marcus felt Nix's hand tremble in his, but her voice remained steady. "Then I suggest you make that recommendation. But no, this Sci will not hide this relationship. I will not pretend Marcus means nothing to me. Whatever you decide, whatever consequences come, I face them willingly." She smiled, sad but certain, because some connections are written in the stars, High Chancellor, and no amount of political maneuvering can erase them. As they left the chamber together, Marcus pulled Nix close. "You didn't have to do that. Risk everything?" "Yes, I did." She looked up at him, tears finally spilling over. "Because you taught me that being made of stardust means something. It means we're all connected, all valuable, all deserving of love. And I'd rather be a common citizen who knows love than an empress who's forgotten how to feel." Marcus kissed her forehead, his own eyes burning. "Then we face whatever comes next together." "Together," Nix echoed, written in the stars. The news spread across Australis, prime like wildfire through a nebula. Within hours, every citizen knew that Princess Nix had defied the Royal Assembly for love. Within a day, the story had reached neighboring systems. Within 3 days, it had become the most discussed event in the entire sector. Marcus barely slept, spending his nights holding Nix as she wrestled with her decision. "What if I've destroyed everything?" she whispered against his chest on the 3rd night. "What if the assembly is right and I'm just being selfish?" "Love isn't selfish," Marcus murmured into her hair. "And from what I've seen of your people, they're more understanding than politicians give them credit for." He was proven right the next morning. Marcus woke to find Nix at the window, staring down at the palace's lower terraces. "Marcus, you need to see this." Thousands of Celestians had gathered below, holding luminescent signs that glowed against the gas giant's swirling clouds. "Let her choose. Love transcends empires. We stand with Princess Nix, The crowd extended as far as Marcus could see, peaceful but determined. They came overnight, Nyx said, wonder in her voice. People from every district, every social class. My personal guard says they're gathering outside assembly buildings across all 7 floating cities. Marcus wrapped his arms around her from behind. Told you? Your people love you not just as a princess, but as a person. They want you to be happy. The Royal Assembly reconvened in emergency session that afternoon, but this time, Emperor Theron himself presided. The Emperor was an imposing figure, his silver-streaked hair flowing past his shoulders, his presence commanding immediate respect. Marcus had only glimpsed him from afar during his arrival ceremony. High Chancellor Vorix. Theron's voice was measured, thoughtful. You've presented your case for maintaining the Helix dynasty betrothal. Now I've seen the public response. Thousands of our citizens protesting, millions more expressing support through official channels. What say you to this? Vorix's jaw tightened. Your Majesty, popular sentiment doesn't negate strategic necessity. Strategic necessity. Theron repeated the words slowly. Tell me, Chancellor, when did we become an empire that forces its rulers into loveless bonds? When did political convenience supersede the welfare of those who serve? Your Majesty, with respect, the princess is young. This infatuation is mine to evaluate, not yours. Theron's gaze shifted to Nyx and Marcus. Daughter, approach. Nyx moved forward with Marcus at her side, both of them trying to hide their nervousness. Theron studied them for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Marcus Webb, the Emperor said finally. You've disrupted my daughter's life, complicated critical diplomatic negotiations, and caused considerable chaos in my court. What do you have to say for yourself? Marcus met the Emperor's eyes directly. That I love her, Your Majesty. Not because she's a princess or an heir or a political asset. I love Nyx because she sees wonder in star patterns most people ignore. Because she laughs at my terrible jokes about gravitational constants. Because, when she talks about her dreams for the Empire, her whole face lights up with hope. He paused. And because, when I imagine my future, every version that matters has her in it. Pretty words. But love alone doesn't govern empires. No, Your Majesty, but loveless rulers rarely govern well. Marcus felt Nyx's hand slip into his, drawing strength from the contact. I'm not trying to take Nyx away from her duties. I want to support them. I'm a cartographer, understand navigation through difficult territory. If you'll allow it, I'd like to help her chart a course that honors both her heart and her responsibilities. Theron's lips twitched with something that might have been amusement. You realize Prince Corvin and his delegation arrived an hour ago. They're waiting in the diplomatic wing, expecting a betrothal ceremony. Marcus's stomach dropped, but Nyx stepped forward. Then I should speak with him, Father. He deserves honesty. Indeed he does. Theron stood, his robes cascading around him, which is why I've already had that conversation. Nyx blinked. You, ... what? Did you think I spent the last 3 days in isolation? Theron's expression softened. I spoke with Prince Corvin this morning, explained the situation, apologized for the circumstances. He was, surprisingly, quite understanding. Vorix sounded scandalized. He said, and I quote, I'd hoped your daughter might learn to love me eventually, but forcing someone who's already given their heart elsewhere serves no one. Theron smiled slightly. Apparently, The prince has been corresponding with a Helix naval officer for the past year. He understood perfectly. The assembly chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Marcus felt Nyx sag with relief beside him. But the alliance Vorix began will proceed through other channels. Prince Corvin's younger sister has proposed a trade agreement that's actually more beneficial than a marriage would have been. Sometimes, Chancellor Honesty opens doors that deception keeps closed. Theron descended from his throne, approaching Nyx and Marcus directly. Up close, Marcus could see the love and concern in the Emperor's eyes. "Daughter, I've watched you sacrifice your happiness for duty since you were a child. You've attended boring diplomatic functions, studied languages you'll rarely use, smiled at suitors you didn't choose." Theron cupped Nyx's face gently. "Your mother, before she passed, made me promise something," she said. "Don't let our daughter become so focused on serving the Empire that she forgets to live her own life. I've failed that promise for too long." Tears streamed down Nyx's face. "Father, marry him. Marry your human cartographer with my blessing. We'll work out the political details we always do. But don't sacrifice love for an alliance we can achieve through other means." Nyx threw her arms around her father, sobbing into his shoulder. Marcus felt his own eyes burning as he watched them. Theron looked at him over Nyx's shoulder. "Marcus Webb, I hope you understand what you're taking on. Being consort to the Celestian heir is no simple task. I'm a quick learner, Your Majesty. Good, because you'll need to be." Theron's smile was genuine now. "Welcome to the family." The bonding ceremony took place 6 weeks later, under the light of all 3 moons. The palace gardens had been transformed into a celestial observatory, with holographic projections of both, Earth's and Celeste's, night skies merging overhead. Marcus wore traditional, Celestian formal attire, flowing robes that caught the starlight, though he'd insisted on keeping his worn leather boots. "Some Earth traditions I'm not giving up," he'd told the exasperated tailors. Nyx was breathtaking in a gown that seemed woven from captured moonlight, her hair adorned with crystals that reflected every color of the spectrum. As she walked toward him down the crystalline aisle, Marcus forgot to breathe. The ceremony blended both cultures. A Celestian high priest performed the traditional soul-binding ritual, chanting in the ancient language as ethereal light wrapped around them both. Then a human officiant brought specially from Earth spoke about love and partnership in words Marcus's grandmother would have recognized. "Do you, Marcus Webb, take Princess Nyx as your bonded mate, to support in all things, to stand beside through joy and hardship, to love without reservation?" "I do." Marcus's voice was steady, his eyes never leaving Nyx's face. "And do you, Princess Nyx, take Marcus Webb as your bonded mate, to cherish and respect, to walk with through all your days, to love without condition?" "I do." Nyx's smile was radiant, tears of joy glistening on her cheeks. They exchanged ring-simple bands etched with constellation patterns they designed together. As Marcus slid the ring onto Nyx's finger, he felt the Celestian soul bond settle into place, a warm presence at the edge of his consciousness that was uniquely her. "Then by the authority vested in me by both Earth and Celestia, I pronounce you bonded mates, husband and wife, partners in all things." The officiant smiled. "You may kiss." Marcus pulled Nyx close, kissing her as the crowd erupted in cheers. Above them, the merged star projections swirled together, creating new patterns, new constellations born from the union of 2 worlds. When they finally broke apart, Nyx whispered, I love you, my starlight. I love you, my universe, Marcus whispered back. 3 months later, Marcus stood in his new office, the Imperial Cartography Division, which he now directed as Prince Consort. He'd reorganized the entire department, introducing human techniques alongside Celestian technology. The results had been extraordinary. They'd mapped more uncharted space in 12 weeks than the previous administration had in 12 years. Your husband is quite remarkable. High Chancellor, Vorix admitted to Nyx during a state dinner. The Chancellor had softened considerably since the wedding, though he'd never quite apologized for his opposition. Perhaps love wasn't such an illogical choice after all. Love is never illogical, Chancellor, Nyx replied diplomatically. It's just calculated on a different scale. That night, in their private chambers overlooking the swirling gas giant, Nyx and Marcus lay tangled together, watching the stars through the transparent ceiling. Happy? Marcus asked, tracing lazy patterns on her shoulder. Deliriously, Nyx shifted to look at him. You know what the best part is? Every day I wake up and choose you again. It never stops being a choice. It's just one I'll make gladly for the rest of my life. Speaking of choices, Marcus pulled up a holographic display showing a new star pattern he'd been working on. I've been designing something. A new constellat.